And we talked about the model of communication. And I want to take this model and put it onto different situations to talk about how understanding communication is important. So the first one is communication is audience analysis. We have an audience. We want to analyze the demographics and understand who they are, what groups they belong to, and by extension, what's in their filter that might be important. The best way to do this is by examples. And we have an informative speech coming up and a persuasive speech. So let's look at both informative and persuasive for audience analysis and the importance of that. Let's say one of our students is in a biology class, and Dr. Rangali says we're going to cover the reproductive process, and I want you to put together a PowerPoint and discuss this process, go over the terminology, make sure the students are really all up to date on everything they need to know from the text, and then we'll have a discussion about it, and it'll be good. And you do that, and you prepare very hard, and you put together a great presentation, make a wonderful grade. One of the students in the class says, I work over here at the daycare, and my students have been asking a lot of questions about the birds and the bees. Would you come do this presentation to my students? So now the question is, does this person do the same presentation to those students? Same topic, different audience. The answer obviously is no. If you've loaded it up with biology terms that the students in class need to know for the test, these students don't have those terms in their filter. So you're going to have to simplify. If you used a lot of very graphic PowerPoint slides, that might be inappropriate for the age of these students. If it's an hour and 20 minutes, that might be longer than these students are going to put up. So it needs to be simplified, shortened, focused in a very different direction. So no, the message, the encoding of the message would definitely need to change because the audience is different. Sometimes even the goal, what do I want to do with my message? So in that example, I want to inform them about this process in a way that's appropriate. For persuasion, let's say that Donald Trump comes to town and he wants to speak to the college Republicans and maybe the local county Republican Party. If he's doing a persuasive speech, what will he ask for? Obviously, he wants their vote. But if it's the Republicans, he also probably wants maybe a donation, wants them to put up a yard sign, get a bumper sticker, put yard signs in their neighbors' yards, call their neighbors, friends, family, get them to vote, maybe even work the phone bank. Now, if he comes to talk to the college Democrats, will he ask for the same things? No, it's unreasonable. These people are a lot further from him in their values and their beliefs and their political organization, the membership to political organizations. He would have to move them much further to get them there. So he'll have shorter goals or more conservative goals on what he wants from them. For if it's the college Democrats, and these are young people that were Bernie Sanders supporters, he might talk about how Bernie Sanders was cheated out of the nomination for the second time, and you just can't trust the Democratic Party. Why don't you just stay home? Not voting against him might be the most ambitious goal he can have. Now, if he's talking to the Libertarian Party, he might say, you don't have a candidate in this race, why don't you come join our party this time? So the goals, not just the message, but the goals would change based on who is in the audience. Now let's look at the physical setting, situation analysis. Let's say Ben is in Dr. Priest's poetry class, and he writes a poem that is so beautiful it makes Dr. Priest cry. And he says, we got to send this to the National Poetry Association. They'll want to see this. And they get it, and they're just amazed. And they say, well, you should come to our national conference and present. We want you to read your poem during the opening ceremonies. 11 o'clock Monday morning, we're kicking off the conference. The association president will speak and do a welcome, and then he'll recognize you. You'll stand up. We've got dual PowerPoints, big screens behind you, a sound system so you can speak loud or soft, it doesn't matter. 3,000 people in the audience, the full works. So you prepare for that presentation. You get there Monday morning, you're on stage trying to get ready, and they say, we've had a slight change. President Trump has come to town. He wants to say hi to everyone, but he's about to fly out, and the only time he has is your spot during the opening ceremony. So we're going to move you to a room like this, down the hall at 1:30. It's got 15 seats in it, but I think we can get 60 or 70 seats in there. We'll bring in some more chairs. We'll get a lot of people in there. It'll be just as good. So do the same presentation you planned today. Yes or no? Now those 60 or 70 people came from the initial 3,000, so the audience should be the same, basically, just smaller. But the situation, the physical setting has changed. In what ways? Well, first, what happens between 11 and 1:30? Lunch. Now you put 60 or 70 people in a room this size. What else happens? Body heat. The room starts to get warm. You turn off the lights to do your PowerPoint projection, your slideshow, people fall asleep. So you might decide, I don't want to do the PowerPoint. But if you're on a stage, 3,000 people, the lights are in your eyes, you look out, you don't see anything. You're blinded by the lights. But in a room this size, you can look out and see actual faces. You can have a dialogue with people. You could answer questions. You can have them take out a piece of paper and write some poetry and read their own before you read yours. You could walk out into the audience because people are a lot less likely to fall asleep if you're beside them instead of way up front. So you can become more interactive given the new physical space. So yes, not only would your medium and your message change, your style of delivery probably should change. One of the other things we talk about in the chapter is communication apprehension, which deals mainly with the speaker, what's in the speaker's filter. Experiences go in there as well. So, anyone been skydiving? Okay, let's say you get ready to go skydiving, you go up in a plane, you and some friends go to the airport, you get in a plane, you go up, you're 20,000 feet in the air. Another man in the plane walks over, hands you this funny looking backpack, opens the door, says, put that on and jump out. You're looking down, it's 20,000 feet. Will you be scared? Yes, you should. You could die. Anytime you could die, you should be afraid because that's a reaction, a biological reaction our body has. We want to survive. He sees that reaction and decides, oh, you've never done this before, have you? No, I haven't. Okay, here's what usually happens the first time. We do a tandem jump. I'll strap you onto me. I've got a big parachute. We'll go down together. I'll tell you how to land before we go, what we're going to do. I'll talk you through it as we fall. When we land, we'll see how it goes. So he straps you on, you jump out together, he talks you through it, you land well because he's told you how to do it. Nobody dies. That's a good thing. He repacks his parachute while you're watching and talks to you about what he's doing. You go up again, he gives you a parachute and says, here's the ripcord, here's an emergency cord if that doesn't open. I'll jump out with you. If anything goes wrong, I'll be there. So you both jump out, you pull the ripcord, the chute opens, you don't fall to the ground, you float to the ground. You land well because you learned how to land, and nobody dies. That's a good thing. He repacks your parachute while you watch, and he explains it to you and talks you through it. You go back up, you jump out of the plane, your chute opens, you go to the ground, nobody dies. This time you repack your parachute while he watches you. You go back up, you pull the ripcord, it opens like it's supposed to, you float to the ground, nobody dies. This time you repack it by yourself while he watches to make sure. You go back up, you jump out, you pull the ripcord, you float to the ground, nobody dies. You repack your parachute again, you jump, you go in the plane, you go up to the 20,000 feet. He opens the door, you stand there looking out. Are you nervous? Yes, you could still die. You should be. But will you be as nervous as you were originally? No. Why? You have experience. You've been here before. I've jumped out of this plane before. I've floated to the ground like I was supposed to. I didn't die. I have confidence that I can do it again. But you also have some training. You know what to do, what not to do, how to land, how to repack your own parachute. You have some information that you didn't have before. So because of your experience and your education, you are less nervous and more in control of your fear and able, and able to jump out by yourself. Public speaking is the same thing. The first assignment was to tell a joke. Most of you have told a joke, so it's not new. The new part is that you're standing up here telling your joke. But you've never been up here before. Well, yes, you have. You've told a joke now. Then you'll share a quote, then a story. Then you'll come up with a friend that you've interviewed and you'll introduce that person to us. So by the time you get to that first big informative speech, you will have been up here about 9 times. So you will have had the experience of being here, plus you will have the additional education or information about how to prepare an outline, how to select a topic, how to decide which organizational pattern to use, how to support your points, how to develop your ideas. So all of that information and experience will make you less nervous and more in control so that you can stand up on your own, and present a speech. I occasionally have people that come to class and say, I was so nervous about public speaking class that I just couldn't come for 3 weeks, but I know I've got to do this, so here I am, the 4th week of class. What do I do about overcoming my nerves? And my answer in my head is always, come to class the first day, because we start small and we build our way up. When you come the 4th week, it's like me saying, here's your parachute, jump out. They don't have that experience and the education that brings them to that level. So that's how putting stuff in your filter can help manage your communication apprehension. There is a chart in the book, I think it's on page 20 of the 7th edition, about different places where I'm nervous speaking. So if the thought of getting up here and speaking on my topic from an outline is intimidating and makes me very nervous, then maybe I could read that outline to a friend over lunch, or get up and speak from that outline to my dogs and cats, or my nieces and nephews, or to a mirror, or even to a camera. And for a lot of people, that's a good experience, because then they will watch themselves and say, you know, I wasn't as bad as I thought, and the things that I did wrong, I can fix, and so I can get better. And so that would be a good way. And it gets you a little bit closer to being up here speaking from your outline to a live audience. So you gradually work your way closer to being here. And those experiences help you overcome that fright. The last one is listening, which we've talked a little bit about barriers, identifying barriers, overcoming the barriers. We do the telephone tag game a lot of times, where we identify what are the barriers in the story. How do you paraphrase to make it more clear to you? How do you break down a complex sentence into smaller sentences? What questions can you ask to clarify the points? Having people repeat and reinforce that information with the same information again. All of those are tools to becoming a better listener and overcoming some of the barriers that are in the message. Obviously, some in the context or the situation. We just have to realize that maybe I need to move. Maybe I need to do something differently to prepare myself to be a better listener. That is chapter 1 and the application of the model to communication.